Today we are joined here with Luke Adams. Fuck. It's okay. Alright, hello everyone. Today we're joined here with Luke Adams. What were some schools that were interested in you, and what was that like?
Yeah, so I mean the draft was a super weird situation just because I actually wasn't watching it.
Okay.
I think it was day 3, and I was actually just like making a smoothie watching Shark Tank, and I got a phone call from my agent, and he was like, "Yeah, look, you just got drafted." I kind of thought he was punking me, but so colleges that I was getting recruited by. So I mean, Michigan State was where I committed to. The first school that recruited me actually was Xavier. So that was my freshman or sophomore year.
Xavier,
That was
okay.
like Xavier, yeah. The coach Billy O'Connor, he's a great dude. Like every player that all my buddies that go to school there, they just love him as a coach, as players coach.
Yeah, that's not
But
exactly
Xavier-
local, right? How'd they come across you? If that's your
that
first
was it,
one,
'cause
so they had to be early on
yeah,
you.
they're in Ohio school. So I think they saw me. It was at I think it was a Lake Point tournament. So it's one of the bigger tournaments in Georgia.
Gotcha.
And yeah, I was, Michigan State would have been great if I could have gone back in the recruitment process. I feel like I kind of owed it to Billy to commit to Xavier just because he was so good to me over the years, and he's still one of the guys though. Like even though I didn't commit there, I still talk with him pretty regularly.
That's cool.
I actually just went up to watch Xavier Oregon State this past week, and I talked to him before the game. He's just a great dude. But so yeah, Xavier, Michigan State. I had a offer from Wake Forest and Kentucky. I think it was those 4, maybe one more, Miami, Ohio. So it was those 5. And yeah, so going back to the getting drafted. So I got drafted, and it was like a super wonky week and a half because they give you about 14 days to decide whether or not you're going to go to school or you're going to sign. So it was like day 10. I had maybe it was actually day 12. I had 2 days to make a decision, and I was still nowhere near making a decision. So I had some phone calls with the Michigan State coaches. I had some phone calls with the Brewers staff, some of the guys in the hitting department, and I just prayed a ton. And at the end of it, I just decided I thought pro ball was the best decision for me.
Now, this past season with the Timber Rattlers, you hit 227 with an 840 OPS. What has been the toughest part about transitioning from the high school level to the pro level and into the minor leagues?
The difference of velocity. I mean, if you faced a good pitcher in high school at the time, you maybe get a guy touching 90, low 90s. Most of the time, low 80s, mid 80s. Summer ball was a little bit more high 80s, and then that jump a month later to rookie ball I was facing guys that consistently were throwing the low 90s. So that was just the biggest jump was velocity, and then just the spin. You see guys in pro ball, just their pitches spin a lot more. It's a lot tighter. They kind of tunnel their pitches off each other a little bit better. And then just mentally, it's a grind. You got 130 games at the minor league level. You gotta just good game or bad game. It's something I'm still working on. I'm not perfect, but it's just mentally, you got a game every day, so you gotta flush the games. You gotta take the good away, and you gotta focus every day. Because if you have I've had weeks where, my first year where I'd lose focus for a week, and then that week just flies by. So you just got to really focus. In high school, you can have 2-3 games a week, so it's a little bit easier just to plan for the games, and just if you have a bad game, you got a couple days off. But if you have a bad game in pro ball, you're back at the field the next day.
First off, being from Hinsdale, what was your favorite baseball team growing up?
Yeah, whenever someone asks me that question, I always say the Bears, just because I don't want to say Cubs or Sox. I'd say I was a little bit more of a Cubs fan, but my dad never played baseball, so it was more so always watching football growing up.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So you're a depressed Bears fan. Hey.
Yeah, it's a rough life, but you gotta stay loyal to them.
Yeah, I respect that. Finally, it looks somewhat promising now going forward, so that's good. Good for you.
Yeah, but we hear that as Bears fans. We hear that every year.
Yeah.
So.
And what has been the hardest part about being a minor leaguer in just the daily life aspect, non-baseball related?
In the last 5 years, even 10 years, it's totally changed from the living environment. So you'd hear 10 years ago when guys played minor league baseball, it was like they were living with host families, and at the field they weren't given food. It was peanut butter and jellies, or just the cheapest stuff you could find. But nowadays, we get meal money. They put us in nice apartments. At the food, like the spread we get before and after games is excellent. So I wouldn't really say it's not that challenging, but I wouldn't say that's the biggest circumstance is the living and the apartments and all that type of stuff. But I'd say just going back to the mental grind, I'd say that's still the most challenging thing. It's just mentally. I mean, the difference between my league and Major League Baseball players is, I mean, there's definitely some skill aspects, but I think the biggest difference is just the mental game. It's like you see these veteran guys and they've just been doing it for so long, and just mentally they know how to go about their business. They have a great routine, and good game or bad game, they're able to flush it and just move on to the next day. I still think that's the most challenging part, just for minor league guys, is we get in our heads a lot. We just we care so much, and there's times where it's like you gotta flush it and move on.
What's been the favorite stadium you've been able to play in so far?
What do you want, a low A one, a high A one?
Yeah. Give me a low, high, and then maybe just the coolest or one that isn't like the best, but that's like really unique in this way or wherever.
Yeah. So in low A, I would say my favorite stadium, I'd have to go to Kannapolis, the Cannonballers, the White Sox low A affiliate.
Yep.
The left field porch was pretty short. The dugouts in the stadium were super nice. They had good entertainment in between innings. And we had a weight room. We had a really nice clubhouse. They had cool batting cages indoors. So that would be my favorite low A. And high, the best stadium we went to this year was, I guess South Bend was cool. The Cubs high A affiliate.
Okay.
It was kind of just the stadium was just super neat. It was just it was just one of those stadiums you walk in and you're like, wow, this is pretty cool.
Or at least have developed a very unique talent of getting hit by the ball.
I knew that was going to come eventually.
My timeline was just blessed with that the other day. You had a 6-game hit by pitch streak, and it started out the video. I'll throw it on the screen. It started out the video by you getting domed.
Yeah.
What goes into that? Do you kind of crowd the plate, or is that just pure luck? What's your approach to that, if you have one?
Yeah, it's something I'm definitely trying to get away from. It's just it helps the on base, but that's really the only thing that I would say is good about it. I mean, there's a lot of painful hit by pitches I had this past year. The worst spot I can hit by pitch is actually definitely the leg.
The leg, okay.
I would say the leg and then the ribs.
I would have guessed the ribs.
Yeah, the ribs and leg aren't fun. I definitely have to say it was because, I do crowd the plate a little bit, but it's more so I kind of had a problem this year where I was accidentally landing closed a little bit, so I had to do more with my stride direction.
Okay.
So that was a big emphasis in the off season, in instructional camp, and then my off season training was just landing more in line. Mm-hmm. Just because when I'm landing closed off, I mean, A, it kind of puts my body in danger, and then B, in the long run, it's you gotta hit your way to the big leagues. I mean, you can take your walks. There's some guys you see get hit by a lot of pitches, but it's just it's not like that. I don't think it's that sustainable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does.
But that was something where I actually got hit that 6-game hit by pitch streak. It was a lot of 2-strike counts. So if I ever have 2 strikes on me and the pitch is coming at me, I'd say 95% of the time I'll wear it, because at that point it's 2 strikes can do anything to get on base of the team.
Yeah.
So at that point, if it's going to hit me, I'm going to battle for a walk. I'm going to try to get a hit, and if it's going to hit me, I'm just going to wear it at that point.
What's been your favorite moment, or what's your favorite fan interaction that you've had? What are some of the cool things off the field that's kind of happened?
Yeah, I've definitely met some really cool people in Appleton this year. I could name several of them. I'd say my favorite overall interaction was I'll show you the dog real fast.
Oh, what's up, buddy?
Yes, that's funny. My favorite overall interaction was my first year in low A. We were playing in Augusta, and they made me the biscuit batter for the week.
Okay.
So it was
that's cool.
If you strike out the biscuit batter, the entire fan section gets biscuits. So it was my first night. I think it was a Wednesday, and at the time I was batting about 190, and they made me the biscuit batter. And I got up to the plate, and I had 2 strikes, and everyone's chanting, biscuit, 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 and I ended up just, like, getting a knock. And the next at-bat had 2 strikes on me, and they're all chanting, biscuit, biscuit, biscuit. I got another knock. And then normally they don't make you the biscuit batter again, but they did the same thing again Thursday, and then the fans kind of started getting into it. So on Thursday, I ended up being the biscuit batter again. I had, I think 1 or 2 more 2-strike hits. So they made me the biscuit batter again Friday. And then the same thing happened, and they made me again Saturday. And, like, all the fans were super engaged. And the last day, I finally ended up striking out. And then, like, the crowd just gave me kind of, like, an applause.
That's cool.
So it was just a pretty cool, funny moment.
Oh, it's up, dude. What's his name?
His name's Orchid.
Nice.
Dog's just attacking me. All right, get down, buddy.
Where does your passion come from baseball? Saying your dad didn't really play, and obviously you're going to make it far. You've already made it much farther than anyone has in baseball. You got to have a lot of passion, a lot of drive for it. So where does that come from? How'd you get started?
Yeah, and even though my dad never played baseball when I was younger, I mean, he really pushed me. Mm-hmm. It was something that ever since, 6th grade to 8th grade, when I was at tournaments before high school, it was something like we had an 8 a.m. game. My dad and I would get to the field like 6:30. We'd start hitting about a half hour before anyone would even show up. So he kind of gave me that drive at an early age where he just really pushed me. And in high school, I loved football always just because, once again, my dad grew up playing football and we're still big Bears fans. But it wasn't something like I felt like I was going to pursue just because, the position I played tight end, I didn't feel like I was really, big or fast enough. And I just always had that love for baseball. So, yeah, probably about my junior year, that's when I really started to make that push where I wanted to play professionally.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now, this is your second spring training?
This is my third, actually.
Third. What's your go-to routine for spring training? What does a normal day look like for you now that you've kind of broken into it?
Yeah, so most nights I'm trying to get in bed between about... I'm actually in bed because I do a lot of my red light recovery stuff before bed, but I'm trying to be asleep by about, 8:30, I'd say, is the ideal range. I have to get up recently I've been getting up at about 6 to 7, kind of anywhere in that range, just depending on when the practices start that day. Mm-hmm. And my drive, because I'm staying in Scottsdale, again, with my aunt and my uncle, so the drive to the facility in the morning is about 45 minutes. So I try to leave the house at about, let's say I get out of the house at 7, I'll arrive there at 7:45. I spend about 10 to 15 minutes right when I get there. Sometimes I do some journaling, sometimes I read my Bible, sometimes I'll just, make my plans for that day. We'll have practice from about 9:30 or 10 till about 12 or 1. So that kind of just depends that day. If we have like base running, we have any different drills in the field, or we're doing live at-bats. I have to lift 3 times a week, or 2 to 3 times. So today, for example, I got my lift in, ate food, I get home at about, 2 or 3. And then some days that week, I got to do stuff to have fun. So sometimes it's like we're a bunch of us guys, we play some Fortnite, or
here we go.
I'll do some video games, whatever that day is, for maybe an hour or 2. So that's about 5. Then I'll have dinner. And then that next 2 to 3 hour window before bed is just... Then again, it's more catching up my Bible, it's reading, it's getting all of my different red light recovery stuff in. I have some different vision training to do on my computer. And, if I have time, maybe I'll watch like half hour TV, but usually most nights not. And then, I'm in bed at 8 o'clock.
What show is you watching right now?
I haven't watched TV really since coming out here, but tonight I'm about to watch Reacher because the new
season
3 of Reacher came out.
Yes, it just came out. I'm excited to watch that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm more of a movie guy. I've watched, actually, this offseason, I watched a ton of movies.
Now, if you're a big movie guy, you like action movies at all?
Yeah.
Okay, are you, think carefully here, James Bond or Jason Bourne?
So I'm into action movies. So, I'm into action movies, but those are actually 2 of the movies I've not got into.
Oh, my God.
James Bond, Jason Bourne.
I was thinking, I'm 22, you're 20. I was like, is that before? I was like, that's not really a difference. But I was like,
that's a really good question.
These
some
kids.
Of the movies that I've really enjoyed are I was watching Equalizer 1, 2, and 3.
Okay, yeah, Denzel Washington.
Denzel Washington. And
yeah.
I liked The one with it's Extraction, like Extraction 1 and 2.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen that with the guy who plays Thor. I'm not good with actors. God.
Jason, you big Jason Statham fan?
Yeah, those types of movies.
Okay,
I love
okay,
those types
good.
of movies.
Yeah, okay. You would absolutely love Jason Bourne then.
Yeah, I know. I've watched.
That's a nitty gritty one. I like him. I much prefer Jason Bourne. I'm a big Jason Bourne fan over James Bond. James Bond's it's too like John Wick like to me, and I like John Wick, but Jason Bourne's really like tough, nitty gritty, like the movies and how they're shot too. So, yeah.
Yeah, and the one movie I did watch, I've watched like a really old one. I think it was the second one that came out over Christmas, but it was really good. So I'd assume the newer ones are even better.
Mm-hmm.